and welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick, with the city's Communication and Marketing Department. And today, if you'll note, I'm wearing red, and that's a symbol to you that this is February, Valentine's Day, but also Heart Healthy Month. And my guest is the Hampton Health Department Director, Dr. Bill Berg. Welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here. And as you see, I'm wearing red also.
So why do we do this? What's the whole red thing? Why the whole month of February? What's the big focus here?
Well, I think there are a couple of reasons. The heart's a very important organ, and heart disease is very important, so it deserves a whole month to itself. I also like to tie it in with Valentine's Day and love and romance and all of that, because if you're in a relationship with somebody, you want that relationship to continue. And one of the obligations of that is staying healthy. So literally you don't die out of the relationship.
Right, you want more time with that person you love.
More
right.
time and quality time. Mm-hmm. And of course the same applies to the other people. So it's a nice tie-in. Heart Month, Valentine's, relationship, and keeping healthy.
It is the one that I remember. When there's other months, Breast Cancer Month, those things don't have a natural life, whereas Valentine's Day, you can't escape the image of hearts. And so it does really keep it in the public eye, I think.
It really does.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about heart disease and why it is such a big factor.
Well, heart disease is the leading cause of death. Every year, 932,000 Americans die of heart disease. That's pushing 1 million.
Wow.
Go
ahead.
Got it. Every year, 932,000 Americans have a heart attack. That's pushing 1 million.
Oh, yeah.
2/3 of them for the first time, 1/3 for a second time, but 15% of those die from the heart attack. And even if you don't die of the heart attack, your heart may be damaged enough that it severely impairs the quality of your life and what you can do. And in a worst case, you may even need a heart transplant. The important thing is that this is preventable.
Mostly. It really is, especially for people who are otherwise, younger and fairly healthy. To get to the point where they're having a heart attack, you can change your life so that you don't get there. Or even if you've had those warnings, sometimes I think that's a little more dramatic for people changing their lives.
It is. The warnings get people's attention and they may change their behavior. You're right. You reach a point where it gets harder and harder to reverse it, which is why the younger you are, that's the most opportune time to take steps to improve your coronary or heart health. But even as you get on, reversing it and stopping smoking is a wonderful example of that.
And that's so important because really stopping smoking probably, if you are already a smoker, has more effect on prolonging your life and your health. And it's not just heart disease, it's almost everything. Absolutely.
There is a great study that appeared in the New England Journal of Medicine about a month ago involving thousands upon thousands of people. And it turns out smoking takes 10 years off your life, a whole decade. You die a decade earlier than a non-smoker. That's just incredible.
I'm not surprised, though. There's so many things.
It affects just everything. The interesting thing, though, of the study is that if you stop smoking before age 35, you get all that life back. And if you stop later, you get some of it back. And the younger you are, the more of your life you get back. What people also don't realize always that I want to emphasize is secondhand smoke. If you're around a smoker, even if you don't smoke, you're really a smoker.
Yeah.
And if you're a non-smoker who's around a smoker, your chances of having heart disease increase by 25 to 30%. And every year, 46,000 people die of heart disease who are non-smokers, but who are around smokers. So it's not just saving yourself. This is a theme that I like to talk about, but it's saving others, the people you love, the people you're around.
It is so important, and I will tell you, I was a rather obnoxious child, and I harassed my parents endlessly about smoking. Because if you're a kid and you're in the back seat of a car, and parents or grandparents are smoking, that's just miserable. And I did manage to get them, or was one of the reasons that they quit, at least. But I think people do need to think about that. I see a change in people's behaviors a lot of times when they start to have children. They realize either they can't smoke or they at least have to not smoke in front of those kids.
Absolutely. If you have children and you smoke, first you need to stop. And if you can't stop...
Because you want to be around for their lives.
Yes, you want to be around for their lives.
Why cut your life off 10 years earlier?
Yeah.
Who knows what you're going to miss?
And why cut their life off?
Right.
Yeah, so if you can't stop smoking, at least take it outdoors and smoke.
Okay, so let's talk about how we would know if we're having a heart attack. What are those symptoms? Because calling 911 or getting help within minutes really, really can save a life.
That really is the message. If you think you're having a heart attack, don't wait around. Don't say, I'm not sure.
Maybe it's
I want to wait
stress.
and see.
Yeah.
Call 911. Every emergency medical service that I know of says, call us, we want to be there. There are 5 symptoms. The biggest one, the most characteristic one, is pain, either in the center of the chest or a little bit to the left.
Okay.
Classically, it's described as feeling like there's an elephant sitting on your chest.
All right.
It can be a pressure, it can be a pain, it can be discomfort. It's just something that's there. A second sign is pain that is up in your jaw or your neck or your shoulder or your arm.
Okay, I've heard arm, but I've never heard that. Okay.
Yes, anywhere up here or in the arm or even in the back. This is a little trick the nervous system plays. What's going on is in the heart down here, but because of the way the nerves relay the message, it feels like the pain is up here.
And that's particularly true, of women, that women a lot of times don't get that classic chest pain. And so we don't realize, it doesn't occur to us necessarily that it's a heart attack.
That's absolutely right. Women's heart attacks are atypical compared to the conventional chest pain, shortness of breath, and so on. Mm-hmm. Other symptoms, shortness of breath.
Okay.
Can't get a deep breath, air hunger, just need more air. Fourth one, nausea, vomiting, feeling like you're going to throw up.
And see, that's one of those other things too. When that happens to me, I'm not going to think heart attack. So pain in the jaw, nausea, that we have to really tell people over and over again, because that's not what I would assume is going on.
Right. Women are twice as likely to have nausea and vomiting as a symptom of heart attack as men. Another one is just feeling lightheaded or dizzy or weak, like you're going to pass out. It's only in the movies, though, really, where people have a heart attack actually lost consciousness. That's a little bit unusual.
But you could feel like it.
But you can feel like it. And then just feeling tired, loss of energy. And in fact, this is the symptom for women who are having a heart attack. Half of all women, a heart attack presents as just, I don't have any energy. I'm tired out. I'm pooped.
And I'm sorry, but that happens to us a number of times. And so, I'm not going to necessarily think about that, although maybe there's another symptom that goes along with it that would help trigger it. But it is a sign, no matter what it is. If you have that loss of energy and you're that pooped, you should really check it out. Even if it's not a heart attack, it could be any number of other things.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And of course, if these things come on after you've been physically active, that's also a clue. If you've gone up a flight of stairs or you've been
shoveled
running.
Snow, all those traditional things where people who are inactive generally suddenly get up and do something.
Mm-hmm. The person who's a couch potato and suddenly decides to play baseball. Lots of examples like that. And of course, knowing whether or not you have risk factors. If you're a smoker, if your cholesterol is up, if you have high blood pressure, you should think, I'm having this thing, it might be a heart attack, and I've got risk factors, so it probably is a heart attack.
Right. So knowing and getting those things checked, your blood pressure, your cholesterol, knowing if you already are increasing your chances, you can be more aware when something does happen, if something does happen.
Right. The big 3 for heart disease are smoking, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol. 1 out of 3 Americans have high blood pressure, but only about half of them have it under control. And high blood pressure is particularly bad for African Americans. They're more likely to have it. They have it at an earlier age, and it's often not as well controlled. And there are a variety of reasons for that, including limited access to health care. But if you're an African American, you have to pay particular attention to what your blood pressure is.
Okay.
Blood pressure is controllable, but the problem is that you've got to take pills to take it. And that's a pain in the rear end for a lot of people. I have to take pills for various medical problems I've got, and there are times I think, oh, but I take them. You got to take them. You got to work with your doctor and keep your blood pressure under control.
And some things you may be able to control with other lifestyle factor changes.
That's right. If you lose weight, if you cut back on your salt, you may reach the point where your blood pressure comes under control on its own and you don't need to take the medicine anymore. But first you check with your doctor. You don't say, I've lost weight, so I'm going to stop taking it.
Right.
Another point that I want to emphasize is that the standards for what's high blood pressure have been gone down.
So more people may have high blood pressure than they realize.
Exactly. People, we used to say, oh, your blood pressure is okay. It may be to the point now where that same figure may call for medicines for high blood pressure now. We used to say, if you're under 140 systolic and under 90 diastolic, you're okay. That's normal. We've dropped that. Now normal is under 120 and diastolic is under 80. Those in-between parts we now call pre-hypertension. And that needs to be dealt with or at least monitored, because if you have that, you're going to go on and get high blood pressure.
Okay, so what are some other things we can do to prevent heart disease, or just, to see some warning signs?
Well, the other big one is high cholesterol. So avoid foods that have trans and saturated fats and high cholesterol. We make cholesterol in our liver. You need a certain amount of it in the body. We also ingest it when we eat certain foods. If there's too much, it settles into the coronary arteries. Those are the arteries that take blood to the heart.
To the heart, okay.
To the heart. And like any other organ, the heart needs blood. When the coronary arteries have cholesterol deposited in them, and this is called plaque, it starts to narrow down, just like minerals in a water pipe. And eventually it reaches the point where it closes off altogether or a clot forms, and then you have a heart attack. So watch your diet to keep your cholesterol as low as possible. Again, if your doctor puts you on medicines for cholesterol, it will reduce it. There are very effective medicines. Take them. Those are the big three.
So is this why exhaustion is such a symptom? It's because your body isn't getting the normal amount of blood and the nutrients and the oxygen that come along with that?
Yes.
So you may be able to see it coming before that attack actually happens.
Exactly. The heart's job is to pump blood throughout the body to take nutrients and oxygen, as you said, and when the heart can't function properly, the body gets shortchanged, and you don't have any energy.
And you may not notice it right away, but at some point you're going to feel that, hopefully at least.
Yes.
Okay. What else do you want to tell us? Particular risk groups, again, women, I'm going to say this wrong, but they are at some pretty elevated risks, but partly because they don't notice the problem. Is that right?
That's correct. Heart disease has traditionally been thought of as a man's disease, and for many years it was, largely because men were much heavier smokers and more men were smokers than women. But women are catching up.
Yeah, we have all the bad habits now.
Yes.
It's a shame, really.
Yeah, fortunately smoking is going down, and we need to encourage that, and particularly in teens, where it tends to be coming up again, unfortunately.
And then African Americans, you said, have a particular risk also because of the cholesterol and blood pressure, or?
African Americans have a particular risk because they seem to be much more susceptible to high blood pressure.
Okay.
And they get it earlier, which means there's more years that the high blood pressure can cause damage.
Okay, so this all ties back to, and it's early enough in the year. That's the other good thing about February is, we've had a month or a month and a half now of resolutions, and most of us have probably fallen off that wagon. But it's time to think about that again, and to think about. I'm wearing my pedometer today. I want you to know that.
Good.
Trying to do work. Exercising into my day, because it's very hard to find that extra time. But if I have a meeting at Rupert Sargent or somewhere else, I can walk downtown to and from the meeting, and it's not something extra to take the stairs at work. Maybe if I can't do all 7 or 8 flights, I get up 3 or 4 and then walk over and take the elevator. What are some other things? You said reducing salt intake.
Reducing salt intake. We eat far too much salt. The average American eats 3,300 grams of salt. We don't need more than 2,300, and for 6 out of 10 Americans, 1,500 is enough.
But you know, some of that I think happens because of processed foods and because of eating out. Because when I cook, I don't put anywhere near that amount of salt in foods. So
those are the
hard.
bad foods. You know, stopping adding salt is great, and it's important. But bread, pasta, pizza, lunch meats, cured meats, any sort of prepared food and eating out has a lot of salt in it. You know, and the people who really have to cut down are anyone over age 50.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm in that bucket too.
Right. People with high blood pressure, obviously, and African Americans. Again, there's that connection between African Americans and high blood pressure. Healthy diet.
Well, the Southern diet, I mean, not just African Americans, but people who live in the South tend to have a diet that is a little bit higher in fat, a little bit higher in carbs, not necessarily the healthiest historical patterns of eating.
That's right, and the health statistics reflect that. You know, this is the area of heart disease.
Right. Okay, so we need to wrap up, but we're going to remind people that wearing red and talking about Valentine's Day is just one way to help trigger that memory for them to think about their heart, think about their diet, pay attention to what's going on, know the symptoms, and take better care of themselves so they are around for their loved ones.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, thank you, Dr. Berg. And thank you for watching this episode of Round Robin. I hope you'll take this opportunity to think about your heart health.